You can't talk that way about a woman, yeah, about how she looked like Vanderlei Silva in a dress. Come on, brethren. You can't talk that way. Man like Cam, please like, comment and subscribe to the channel. Now, can we talk about the way that UFC have handled the Chris Cyborg situation? All right then. So it turns out that Dana White's in the press this week just gone, before UFC knew her, talking about Cyborg don't want the fight. She don't want the fight with Amanda Nunes because she don't want that smoke. Did you see the way she got banged out that first round? She doesn't want that fight. And you know what? As a promoter, Dana White says, I don't blame her for not wanting that fight. Chris Cyborg on Cyborg Nation channel puts out a video showing her going face to face with Dana White, her promoter and boss ultimately, saying, I want that fight. I told you I want that fight. Shake my hand, make that fight. Dana White comes in front of official UFC cameras and gives an official interview, drops it on YouTube. He says, I have released Chris Cyborg from her contract. We are not any longer in the Chris Cyborg business. She doesn't want that fight. We want that fight. She needs to go and talk to another organization. She's free to go and talk to Bellator, Ryzen, K1, boxing organization, whatever. She can go and, she's free. We've released her from her contract. What the F? That's a madness. Chris Cyborg, what other girls apart from Amanda Nunes and Rousey before her have the pull and the mainstream cachet that Chris Cyborg has? There's beef. It's beef, Dana. It's always been beef. Just come clear and tell it how it is. You don't need to take the party line on this one. From Joe Rogan and Dana White were in that private plane with that comedian whose name nobody even knows, talking all kind of smack about Chris Cyborg Santos. You knew, everybody knew it was beef. You can't talk that way about an employee or an independent contractor, as UFC called them. You can't talk that way about a woman, yeah, about how she looked like Vanderlei Silva in a dress. Come on, brethren. You can't talk that way. Dana White said that, you know, about one of his employees, one of his fighters. Question, do you think Dana White would have said that about Ronda Rousey? He wouldn't have said that about Ronda. Okay, so Ronda doesn't have that physique necessarily, although she's still quite built. But Dana White would have never said that about Ronda Rousey, and that's because he liked her because of the way she looked. Blonde hair, blue eyes, pin-up model type looks. You shouldn't be talking that way about anybody. Forget whether they're in your organization. You can't talk about how they look like Mike Tyson and or they look like Vanderlei Silva in a dress. You despicable Dana White. You shouldn't be talking that way. Absolutely bang out of order. And manifest in those comments is the fact that you'd never ever liked Cyborg. And the reason why you didn't like Cyborg is because you feared Cyborg could come in and take out your golden child champion in Ronda Rousey. Because she would have. If you'd have made the fight, she would have smashed Ronda Rousey, just like Holly Holm smashed her, and just like Amanda Nunes smashed her. And forever, since then, you've held a grudge against Cyborg Santos. You've held a grudge against Chris Cyborg, and it's been manifesting the way that you've dealt with her. Okay, so by all accounts, Chris Cyborg isn't the easiest to deal with. She knows her worth, she has her mainstream brand, her YouTube channel, Cyborg Nation, all them things. I know she's not the easiest to deal with, but that doesn't give you the right to talk about her the way that you have. And I know we're going back a few years now. This is years back, this is like 5-6 years ago at least. This is legacy type stuff. But nevertheless, you never came out and apologized. Not officially. You might whispers in the background, behind closed doors, you get me? But you never came out and you said, you know what, Chris Cyborg Santos, we shouldn't be talking about you as a woman, let alone as a female employee. Bang out of order, Dana White. And now the latest straw, the last thing now, you let her out of her contract. That's a madness. That is really, really bad form. All round, like I just don't, it doesn't sit well. UFC for me still has that there needs to be some sort of fighters organize it, a fighters union, right? Because they still don't have enough power in an organization or in an industry where UFC is still the most dominant organization. It is still borderline monopoly. I know Bellator coming up, Ryzen is there, ONE FC, but in America and in the Western world anyway, UFC are still a monopoly. They're the driving force in mixed martial arts, to where, very much like Coca-Cola, people talk about mixed martial arts as UFC, right? They're almost interchangeable still, even though they're very different things. That's the type of monopoly that UFC have. Hence why they can handle these things the way that they can handle them. Can you imagine if I went to work and talked about, I'm an accountant, right? I work in a corporate organization. Imagine if I went to work and talked about one of my female colleagues in those terms. You know how quick my feet wouldn't even touch the ground as I left the door. Gone. So how come Dana White can get away with it? Well, he can get away with it because he's head of a monopoly organization and it's bang out of order. Set up the fighters union. Let me talk something else quickly as well. So Luke Thomas had a video talking about Jon Jones and Conor McGregor, comparing and contrasting their respective bad behaviors. So Conor, okay, the Dolly, very, very likable guy. I love Conor to death, man. He's charismatic, changed the game. Okay, so he hasn't fought in a while, but we let him off, right? Because he's accrued so much goodwill in the charismatic interviews, the quips. Who the fuck is that guy? All these craziness that, again, as soon as I remark on it, it brings a smile to my face. But nevertheless, he hired a private plane when all the Khabib madness was going on. So for context, Khabib slapped up Artem Lobov. Artem Lobov is Conor McGregor's friend. So a banterous slap. It wasn't a big fight, but it was Artem had said some things in the press. Khabib came up to him, checked him with a little slap. Watch yourself. Conor McGregor sees that video of his friend getting handled a little bit by Khabib. Khabib is having a fight in New York. Conor McGregor hires a plane. As soon as he sees the video, hires a plane, comes over, throws a dolly. A dolly for English viewers is like a trolley. Throws a trolley at a coach with Khabib in there and other fighters. Michael Chiesa, one of the fighters in the coach, gets injured, gets glass in his eye on the back of Conor McGregor's actions. That, by the way, isn't the only questionable thing that Conor's done down the years. He's called Floyd Mayweather a Maltese head. Racist? Racist, any? Said similar things about Khabib. Called him a dirty Dagestani rat. Racist, any? He's cracked jokes about Khabib's missus when she was in the full religious garb, getting married. Racist, any? Controversial, any Conor? Accused of rape? Sexist, any? Controversial, any Conor? So why? All forgiven, eh? All's forgiven with Conor, but Jon Jones, on the other hand, when Jon Jones did similar things, he gets a very different reaction, right? So his things, by the way, aren't necessary. So scrap the PEDs and the cocaine snorting. He got DUI'd, right, which is driving under the influence. Crashed into a pregnant lady, broke her arm. Despicable, but negligence, not deliberate. There's an important difference between the two, right? The difference in extents, not kinds, granted. But nevertheless, the media reaction to Jon Jones's misdemeanors were very different to those of Conor's. So I only talk to that. The only reason why I say that is to say that there is something about the way that the UFC and the mainstream media treat the misdemeanors of different fighters. And that's why they need to set up the fighters union. Because the way that Chris Cyborg has been treated and the way that sometimes Jon Jones has been treated is very different to the way that Conor McGregor has been treated and the way that Ronda Rousey has been treated. Bang out of order, and it leaves a really, really bad taste in the mouth. Am I gonna stop watching UFC on the back of this? Probably not. I love fighting too much, man. But it really, it sours my own perspective on the way that UFC handles its business. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Comments are really appreciated as well. We'll be back next week with more talk, MMA, boxing related. Bless.